Bobby, what do you have here?
Well, as you can see here, Tyler, what we've got going on are some ribeyes and also a sirloin of the top nature. This one has Trader Joe's signature coffee garlic rub, as well as some kosher salt. So now we're just getting some sear going on that one. Once that's done, we're going to move on to Terry Black's, and then we're going to go to the Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse, and we'll finish it off with the Austin, Texas Salt Lick rub.
Indeed.
Once that's all finished, then the ribs go on.
You didn't convince me. Let me see your real war face.
Normally I set a timer, and I'm just eyeballing it today. I want it a little bit pressy, but not too pressy. This is rare, medium, medium well. Anything more than that, which really anything more than medium, is called burnt.
Yeah. Burnt.
And
What would you call a well done steak?
Jerky.
Jerky. Pretty much a waste of time.
Yes. Also, the reason you probably like A1 steak sauce is because you get your steaks cooked too much and you don't get any of the flavor because it's been all cooked out.
So you're saying that sauce is often used as a compensator for real flavor in a steak?
That is exactly what I'm saying. Now, some people do like sauces. Brittany, for instance, happens to just like sauce. I don't let her use sauce.
Leave Brittany alone!
But she likes it, so I just seem to always not have any steak sauce around. Well, we are about to take this guy off. Just giving it another couple seconds here to get a nice good sear. This is the Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse. Next up, we've got the sirloin with Salt Lick barbecue. So, steaks are almost done. I have one kind of just sitting in smoke a little bit. We've got some spare ribs. So these are going to be a lot bigger. These are typically what's used when in competition. Obviously these are not for competition, these are just for pure enjoyment. So as I stated before, we are going full Austin, Texas in celebration of Tyler's move. So we're going Terry Black's hot sauce for the binder. So we'll put a little bit of that on here just so we can make sure that that's a lot of meat there.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
So we can make sure that all the seasonings stick to it. And we're gonna go salt. Because Terry Black's doesn't have a ton of salt in it, we're gonna make sure we get a good amount on here without being too much. I always use my hand as a guide around the edges to make sure that I waste as little as possible. Not that I don't have more, but if I don't have to refill it as often, it is helpful financially. This is Terry Black's pork rub. And we have used it previously. If you remember my video on 3 racks, 3 rubs. This was one of the ones that typically is not my favorite. Because I prefer more finer granules, and this one is a bit thicker. But I've got to say, the flavor on this is fantastic. Okay. So, what I didn't get to show you last time is the removing of the membrane. So that, the ribs that I had already had it removed. So this one, I actually get to show you some of the trimming I'm gonna do, which I'm gonna start with this flap here because it is going to not cook right. So we'll use that and cook it on its own.
Why isn't it gonna cook right?
Because it doesn't keep things, it doesn't keep aerodynamically, it doesn't like allow as much airflow through, so you want to
sit flat.
You want to sit it as flat as possible. So yeah, removing as much of this as possible. But again, this is gonna get seasoned, and we're gonna throw that on too, because why not? All right, so now that we've got that part trimmed up, the rest of it looks pretty good. There's not really a need to pull anything else off. It's pretty cleaned from the butcher. So now we're gonna remove the membrane, which can be tricky. It's tricky. What I've been taught and what I've learned from watching other people do it is butter knife, because you stand less of a chance of cutting the meat, but it also helps you get inside here to get it lifted. And then take a paper towel and you pull. And it all came off in one fell swoop. That's the way to do it. Now this doesn't happen every time. Don't be mad at yourself if it doesn't come off like that. To be honest, it does it for me maybe 60% of the time. The rest of the time it breaks off halfway in.
60% of the time it works every time.
So now that we got that removed, we got that little flap taken off, we're gonna season the bottom side since there is a good amount of meat here. Now, if we were doing competition, we would be cutting off a lot of this extra stuff because presentation, they usually end up cutting this whole part off right here. So you're usually looking at, in competition, you're looking at these guys because they have the longest ribs and the most amount of meat on it. But because, you know, I want to get all this meat in here because, again, these are for eating, not for competition. We're gonna just make sure we get a good helping of rub on this guy. Yeah, things to look for when you're doing trimming, which I missed that one, is making sure you get some of this silver skin, just because it doesn't cook right, and we want tasty ribs without any like gritty kind of textures and stuff in your mouth. And you don't have to really get the underside, but just because, why not? Extra flavor. All right. So while that last steak is finishing up, we are gonna go ahead and let this sit. Flip it back over. We're gonna let it sit for about 10 minutes. Let it sweat down a little bit and really absorb these flavors. And then they're gonna go on. We're gonna go normal rib process. So that's with pork, we're gonna go 2 hours unwrapped, basting every hour at 250, and then we're gonna wrap it for the final 2, putting one more little round of basting inside. We're gonna stick with apple cider vinegar, and we'll keep this hot sauce since there's a little bit left in there. Let's go check on that steak.
Matthew, what do you think about these ribs here?
Well, Mr. Morgan, just from the visuals that I'm getting right now without any flavors, I'd have to say that that is a beautiful looking rack of ribs. We got it's very well seasoned. Looking forward to this meal here.
Absolutely.
All right, so all the steaks are done. I have them sitting in here, letting them rest. All of the steaks are ready except for one that I just took off. You want to let those sit for at least 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how big they are, because we want to make sure that all the steak reabsorbs all the moisture. So while that's going on, I'm just cleaning off the trusty grill here, since we're changing meats. Trying to keep it clean, you know. And once that meat is ready, the ribs are ready, and they've sweat down a little bit, we'll put them on. Probably got about 8 minutes. We'll put those on, and then we get to enjoy these steaks. It's that time. It's slicing time.
Ooh, it dices, it slices.
We are going to not cut this one yet because it's not ready. So let's go. This is salt and coffee garlic. And I'm gonna cover it back up because it's flat. So. You're gonna see that the inside's there, nice and medium rare.
Yeah, it wasn't rare and it certainly wasn't well done.
Which is the only way to eat the steak. Next up is Terry Blacks. And these are slicing super easily, by the way. Hardly any effort. Ooh, hey. What's up? Yes. This is medium rare, a little bit closer to the rare side, but again,
How steak should be.
can't go wrong. All right. And lastly, for the time being at least, this is Kinder's yes, sir. It's eating time. All right, boys, let's do this. You've now had 3 different flavors. Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse, Terry Black's Beef Rub, just salt, and the coffee garlic rub. Matt?
I would have to give the award to the coffee.
Coffee's the winner?
Yeah, I think that was just fantastic. Perfect texture, perfect taste. You can't beat it.
Mr. Morgan?
Buttery steak rub.
Yeah.
First one you mentioned.
Absolutely savory, delicious. It's got that blackened, crispy outside with that. Look at this. You only see that in textbooks, kids. Nothing like it.
Yeah, you know, I think today is gonna go to the Buttery Steakhouse. I'm very pumped with how well this came out, and by well, I don't mean the cook. I mean how perfect it came out cook-wise. This is awesome. Yeah, these could not have come out any better. I just like that buttery taste, man.
Yeah, the butter got
Butter
me.
is butter, man.
Delicious.
Which, this is a little side note for something I didn't do today, but if you're cooking in a pan, butter is the way to go. It really does, like, it just adds so much more flavor. It accentuates it. It comes from the cow already. So you got salt in it. I stick with Kerrygold's because it's salted. It's also grass-fed, so you're getting cleaner butter. But yeah, I put that in the pan while it's cooking, do a little basting with it, and it's some of the best stuff you'll ever have. So that's why Buttery Steakhouse gets it for me.
Delicious.
So this is that little flap of meat that doesn't do really much on the ribs, but we're gonna cook it because it's food. And now I'm gonna two-hand this guy because it needs it. This is going on the top rack. Want it just cooked by the smoke, not anything else. So let the timer begin. This is a 4-hour process. So we're gonna go 2 on unwrapped, 2 on wrapped, and then we'll baste while it's unwrapped every hour. So let's check back in an hour. All right, so it's been an hour. That means it's time to baste. Before we do that, got to put together. So today we're working with organic apple cider vinegar. This is a really great thing to use. Just you get the some of the sweetness and apple flavor is always really good with pork. So I will use mostly this, but I do put in. I'm gonna use a little more because it's pretty big ribs. And then I take some of the hot sauce, which again today we're using Terry Black's, and I'll put some of that in there just for some little extra flavor, maybe a little more. And then we'll mix it up, and then we and then we'll get that going. So it's been an hour. Let's take a look, see how they're coming out. Here's a little strip of meat that I cut off, which this is probably about ready. We'll go ahead and put the basting on here just to give it some extra flavor. This is coming in nicely. Already got a really good bark going on. Some nice color. For this time, we got 1 more hour and then we wrap. Alright, so it's been 2 hours. So it's time to take these ribs off. We're gonna wrap them. We're gonna baste them 1 more time before they go back in for 2 more hours. Woo. Check out that bark. Ooh. I hear its bark is worse than its bite. Yeah, I said it. we go. 2 more hours. We'll check them, and if they're ready, we'll take them out. All right, it has been 4.5 hours on the grill and another 20 minutes just resting. So it's now time to open this bad boy up. Judging by the juice content on, ooh baby. Let's take the tray out of the way.
You guys got some jerky?
All right.
What kind did you get?
Here and
Kangaroo? Weird.
Clean bone.
Gator, I accidentally ate gator one time. It's actually really good. Yeah.
You want another one?
My friend's dad is Japanese and he was from Japan, so they got certification.
That's clean. Juicy. Let's see, boys.
Is it good? He's crazy.
So, these ribs were a great success. These are spare ribs, which I've never actually cooked before. But I am really happy with the coloring on this. I'm really happy with how juicy they are inside. Yeah. All in all, came out really great. So, wish you could taste these. But we're gonna eat these up, so I gotta go.